Well, welcome back to the 2018 Men's European Cup. I'm the lovely Beatrix. Joining me is S-Terminate with Riggs on production. We're game 4, Tyne and Fear versus Barrow. You're joining us just as we go into the second half. Tyne and Fear with that lead of 1-2-7 against Barrow's 52.
And of course, we're all really enjoying this game. But coming up for you later today is Glasgow Men's Roller Derby up against the Knights of Southern Discomfort at 4 p.m. At 6, we have New World Order up against the Mad Riders, who came all the way from Spain today or yesterday. And our last game today at 8 p.m. will be the Gothenburg Salty Seaman up against the Helsinki Coast Quads. A clash of the northern clans, let's just say.
Ooh, clash of the northern clans
Going
on
to
a
be
Saturday
interesting.
night. What more could you possibly want? I don't want more than that, but I do want some more roller derby. Had a quick check-in with the penalties at half-time. Nobody really on any penalty trouble in either of the two teams. We did have one skater from Barrow, that's number 66. Scandalous, sitting at 3 forearm penalties at the half. So let's see how the half-time team chats and chants has gone and works out for both of these two teams.
Jardine, who I believe did the final jam of the previous period as well, is already lining up to jam this jam as well. Jamming against Kamikenzi for Tyne and Fear. Once again, a pivot line start.
Oh, as we count down, coming in to this second half, we'd like to give a big shout out to Tyne and Fear for providing this stream for us this weekend. But we are off. Kamikenzi pushing forward first of all against the defences of Barrow. Disruption run by number 83, that is Nicholas Rage, helping his jammer break through to grab lead for Tyne and Fear. Meanwhile, at the back of the pack, Barrow's jammer Jardine trying to find a space, but Tyne and Fear giving 0 inches here. And that gives opportunity for Kamikenzi to get through and pick up 5 points for Tyne.
Once again, incredibly tight walls here put up by Tyne and Fear, who are playing in white there. And playing in orange, we have Barrow Infernos, who are a little bit more scattered on track, which makes it easier for Kamikenzi to put 5 more points on the board for Tyne and Fear.
Nicholas Rage with that classic move of disruption to try and support Kamikenzi coming through on a third scoring jam.
We've had a star pass, I believe. Oh, look at that jump by Nicholas Rage over a down blocker. We now have a star pass onto Speedy Gonzalez here for Barrow Infernos.
Well, all the action comes to a standstill in turn 3. And jam is called by Tyne and Fear. 16 points picked up for them. No points to Barrow. 52 plays 1-4-3. So action-packed jam to start this second half, certainly for Tyne and Fear. Plenty of blocking going on, but as you said, we're still seeing that loose defence from Barrow. Let's just see whether they can tighten it up going into this second half as Mustache comes up against Nomad.
Mustache tumbles through that orange wall there, but it is Nomad who is in the front up against Tank there, who at one point has to let him go upon that out of play signal. Gets out first lead for Barrow in quite a few jams, I believe.
Now, Nomad had been a very successful jammer for Barrow, and this will now be a power jam in favour of them. As low block penalty assessed to Tyne and Fear's Mustache. Mustache sits in the Sisu mouthguard penalty box. And Nomad having to run the gauntlet of blockers from Tyne and Fear in the straightaway between turns 2 and 3. Pushing forward, just waiting for the in. Tyne and Fear holding strong though. Big 3-wall at the front of this pack. Moving along with Nomad and 289. Dynamo, who is coming in to run some disruption. Nomad decides to call off that jam.
And similar to their blocking, similar to their defense, their offense as well is a little bit more scattered on track. One by one players coming in trying to get their jammer out, but that is just not going to be an ideal strategy up against tight walls like Tyne and Fear are putting up here. Roseblade now on track for Barrow Infernos with the star cover on his helmet. Has been quite successful jamming already. Power jam, power start for him. But not for long, as Mustache is already released, takes the inside and actually picks up lead straight from that penalty box for Tyne and Fear. Roseblade now in the front, knocking down players one by one, also trying to get past.
Well, let's terminate. Mustache taken outside, knocked back and recycled into turn 2. Everywhere else is pretty much as a standstill as Roseblade tries to work through the pack once again. Up front, we're seeing disruption from 1759 Beer Mat. And Roseblade able to break through that pack and complete his initial. Mustache still in the mix here, trying to grab points.
Massive hit there on the line from a Duke of York in the third corner there.
But let's just check out the replay where Tyne and Fear Jammer able to pick up the lead. Jammer status running on the toe steps, one-footed around the corner of that inside line in turn 1. Great footwork.
Now Dark Matter lining up on the outside, Jardine on the inside. Dark Matter already taking the front, picking up the inside, picking up that lead, and is out of the pack. Jardine trying to take the outside there, but gets knocked out. Look at that control, that skate control, that foot control, that wonderful edge work by Dark Matter, as we've seen so many times already. Jardine almost out on the outside there, but is recycled all the way back.
Jardine taken outside, recycled back as you said, but it is the opportunity for Dark Matter to go at speed around turns 1 and 2. Grabbing points, jumps on the inside line, doesn't land it, chipped off by Barrow blockers, but still able to pick up 10 points for Tyne and Fear, which now sees a 100-point differential between these two teams. In fact, lies. 104-point differential as Tyne and Fear actually picking up 14 along the way. 160 for Tyne and Fear, 56 for Barrow.
14-point jam. We haven't seen a lot of very high-scoring jams this game so far. Both teams are playing it pretty safe. We saw Nomad run the clock once. Let's see what he's going to do now. Nomad being recycled.
Well, Nomad pushes forward 2-wall up front, but also Tyne and Fear's Moo pushing at the same time. Moo takes the outside line, grabs lead. Nomad nowhere to be seen as he's recycled back behind the walls of Tyne and Fear. Comes up now, one left to pass. That is number 26, Chemical Owl with the knockout and recycle all the way back to the pivot line. And whilst Nomad is recycled, Moo continues on.
Jumping that inside there, barely legally jumping that inside, just missing that blocker, but very nice move that was. Nicholas Rage getting sent to the penalty box. So one less blocker on track, pivot off track. Look at that massive hit there by Dynamo. I love seeing this guy jam. You mostly see him block, he's always on track there with the pivot, but he is like a bulldozer. And now look at this wonderful replay here.
This jammer to jammer, just up against each other like titans clashing in the seas.
And we saw a similar thing this morning when people turned around, tried to catch Optimus Grime on their chest. That is something that I would not wish upon my fiercest enemies. Do not turn around when you are in front of Dynamo, when you're in front of a blocker turned a jammer like that.
Well, 10 points picked up by Tyne and Fear in that last passage of play. Takes them to 170. Barrow at 56. And it looks like we have 99. Sparky with the start for Tyne and Fear. Going up against Roseblade once again for Barrow. And Sparky straight off the line there. Tyne and Fear were able to just surround the blockers of Barrow, containing all of them to give Sparky opportunity.
Roseblade very kind of like just step by step trying to pass those blockers on the front, which just works for him. He's someone who's usually very calm on track. He just needs to be collected, get through that back collectively, gets out calmly, forces that jam to be called off by Sparky after another 4 more points for Tyne.
Blocker of note, certainly Duke of York in that last passage of play as we go into a team timeout called by Barrow. And I really feel like Barrow's jammer rotation has become very small at this point in the game. We've seen Roseblade jamming, Jardine jamming, and Nomad, which is actually the same as it was in the first half. So just ignore everything I just told you. I was lying. I'm jet lagged.
Of course, smaller roster for Barrow, since they do have it that aforementioned 3-manager jammer rotation. Whereas, of course, Tyne, they have Dark Matter, they have Kamikenzi, they have, who else do we have? Mustache, Moo, and Sparky. That is a 5-jammer rotation, meaning you can rest out your jammers. And it's really showing in the way they jam, that incredible explosiveness that Sparky just showed us.
Completely, you know, that ability to be fresh when you go out on track makes a difference between being able to put on that little burst of speed when you absolutely need it and not. So time out for Tyne comes to an end. And as it does, we'd just like to say thank you to our sponsors this weekend. RollerDerbyCity.com. Kamikenzi with the star comes up against Jardine. Kamikenzi literally runs through the middle of the pack, pretty much unopposed.
Applauding himself as he's getting out. Also thanking his offense. Look at that jump. 2 feet straight into the air. Wonderful to see. Jardine now passes on the outside there, runs into Chemical, but gets past him, gets out of that pack. Let's see what Kamikenzi's going to do now. Oh, that massive hit there by Beer Mad.
You know, Exterminate, it's almost like they practice these apex jumps. We're just seeing in the instant replay here as Barrow's jammer is knocked to the outside. Beautifully timed jump. As you said, both feet off and into the air for Tyne jammer. 7 points picked up by Tyne takes their overall score to 181. Barrow holding at 56.
Once again, Mustache, this is the second time he's lost his cover in this game. Not sure what's going on with his helmet there or with the star cover, but once again, immediately notices it, puts it back on. But it is Nomad who gets out, picks up another lead here for Barrow, putting all the control of this jam into his hands.
Now, this feels like the first lead that Barrow have been able to pick up in this half. And, you know, the star coming off is definitely part of that reason because it gave Nomad opportunity and time. Now with the huge hit by 0-1, Duke of York. More opportunity and time coming Barrow's way as Nomad able to make gains on the track and another one of those apex jumps that photographers and fans alike love. However, Nomad caught up in the mix, forced to recycle back behind the pack. Strong walls from Tyne and Fear. Opportunity for Mustache to get around and grab some points. 4 plays 5 in favour of Barrow currently, but Mustache will certainly be making a dent in this.
And you see Dynamo and Scandalous working together as a wonderful team on track, constantly working together, hitting the jammer out, recycling main, hitting the jammer out. Once again, now Scandalous recycling Mustache there. Both jammers seem to be getting a little bit tired. 30 seconds left in this jam.
And some jammer to jammer action by Nomad on Mustache. Just forced him out and gave Nomad opportunity to score points or call off the jam. 8 points picked up by Barrow, 9 for Tyne and Fear. Let's check out the replay. It's that huge Duke of York hit out straight onto the shoulder.
And this is, you're not really able to see this when you're watching this at home, but that is actually where most of the Barrow Infernos fans are sitting. So it was like he presented his fans with a little gift. He's like, here's a jammer for you.
That's so kind. And what I would say, however, is that what we didn't see happening from Barrow, and perhaps it's something that they need to start thinking about now, is a bit more active offense. So towards the end of that jam, we had their jammer at the back of the pack, Nomad, playing some one-to-one against Tyne and Fear's jammer, when actually we had two of Barrow's blockers at the front of the pack with not a lot of purpose at that point. They could have dropped back and given some offense, helped their own jammer out, and still catch the Tyne and Fear jammer. Now, obviously, that's very easy for me to say as I sit here on my chair in my pretty little dress. It's a little bit more difficult when you're out on track to sometimes see that. But it's certainly those opportunities that Barrow are missing in that active offense, which could support them and help increase their points. Because 8 plays 9, that could have been 13 plays 9. It could have been 15 plays 9 or whatever. So maybe it's something that Barrow need to start thinking about more as we go into the second half of this second half. We've got 19 minutes left. Barrow is sitting at 64. Tyne and Fear sitting on 190.
Barrow are requesting a official review at this point from the referees. And I do want to mention that Barrow Inferno are playing with 9 players this game, which is a very small roster up against a team like Tyne and Fear. And
completely.
We do see the jammers getting a little bit tired, but we also see the blockers getting tired, especially since Tyne and Fear, they are a little bit faster, they are a little bit more experienced, they are a little bit their trainings might be harder. I'm not quite sure, but you really can tell that they're really using the fact that Barrow are getting a little bit more tired, and they're trying to adapt their gameplay onto that. We now have a wonderful referee coming up to us to show us what the results of that official review was.
So cut was requested for the white jammer against one orange blocker. The jammer was on the boundary and not over, so the no call stands. Thank you very much, referees. Don't know why I said that so creepily. But
because we love them. We love the referees.
Preserved for life now. Okay, back to it. Dark Matter up against Roseblade.
Roseblade there in the front on the inside, getting some offense from Duke of York, and now a little bit of a scrum happening here in the first corner, but it is Dark Matter, who does not need a lot of space, tiny as Dark Matter is. Getting past there on the outside, with Roseblade getting hit out in the third corner.
So Roseblade knocked out, forced to recycle, took a moment, came up front though, number 26, left to pass, Chemical Al. Roseblade pushing against everybody now. Nicholas Rage also in attendance. Roseblade takes a fall, gives opportunity for Tyne and Fear to reform, and we're seeing that 3-wall once again working against the Barrow jammers. Also in a little bit of trouble is Dark Matter. Dark Matter knocked out, recycled. Fantastic pickup by number 66. Scandalous on the apex.
But do not forget that Dark Matter does have lead. He can call it off, but he is running this clock. He knows that they're far ahead score-wise. Roseblade seems incredibly happy that this jam is over. Amazing performance by him, however.
So Tyne and Fear now reach the 200 mark with that 10-point jam. And worth noting as well that Tyne and Fear still have their timeouts and a official review in their back pocket. Barrow with only one timeout left. We've got 17 and a half minutes left of this second half. As you said, we can feel that Barrow, with this shortened roster, certainly tiring a little bit. And who wouldn't? This is an incredibly physical game that all the guys have been playing out on track today. But with only that one timeout left, they're going to have to be really strategic as to when they take it. It is lead to Moo for Tyne and Fear. Jardine, though, in hot pursuit from Barrow.
And let's see what we're going to do with this. And also interesting to mention what I think is that even with the short roster, and even though how hotly this game is played, everyone is very low on penalties. And once again, I do not want to jinx this, but it is a very clean game. It's a very tough game, a lot of hard hits, a lot of fastbacks, but a very wonderfully clean game to watch and to be able to announce. One more point on the board, but for Tyne and Fear, bringing their total up to 2-0-1. They are playing in the white, and playing in orange are Barrow Infernos, whose current score is 64. We have 16 and a half minutes left on the period clock and on the game clock.
Barrow played a really smart move there where they didn't pick up any points, but they put enough pressure on the Tyne and Fear jammers that they were able to call off the jam before those points got into the 4, 5, 6, whatever. So although there was no positive point differential, it was positive in terms of playing that mental game.
What's also very positive for Sparky is that he is out of the pack first, does not pick up league, has one no pass, no penalty. Nomad, however, is here on the outside. Again, wonderful footwork. Still eligible to pick up lead, I believe. One more blocker to pass, but look at how fast those white Tyne and Fear blockers are. Grand Slam here on the board for Sparky. Nomad still in the pack.
Well, Nomad with Chemical L left to pass. Joined by number 82, Dog. Both blockers of note for Tyne and Fear. And whilst Nomad is grappling, Sparky already through on a second scoring pass. But Nomad finally breaking out to pick up lead. And jam comes to an end.
I didn't even think he realized he was still eligible to get lead. He just got out of the pack, and then his bench coach just really frantically started waving, like, please call off this jam. And you saw him thinking, like, oh, wait, I can do this.
So 9 points picked up by Tyne and Fear. No points to Barrow. 64 plays 2-1-0.
And a first jam for Beer Mat. We saw him handing out some pretty amazing hits early. Let's see what he's going to do. What kind of work he's going to make of these walls as a jammer. In the front, however, it is Kami Kenzie who gets out first, picks up that lead.
Well, Beer Mat running up the middle of the track there. Shrugs off number 64, 60 quad bit to complete their initial but beautiful apex jump by Kami Kenzie to finish off that jam. Calls off the jam from the knees. And let's take another look at that apex jump. You can see here the grapple that Beer Mat had, but coming around into turn one, Kami Kenzie with that jump just trails the leg slightly, quite rightly calling off the jam from his knees on the track to avoid any kind of penalty.
Mustache there on the inside, dashes through the inside, picks up another lead for Tyne and Fear. We have Jardine there in the back, running up against quite a scattered pack of blockers in the white. Nicholas Rage, however, standing tall and firm in front of him, knocking him to the inside, recycling him back, while Mustache laps the pack one more time for 5 more points.
Jardine takes the outside line to complete the initial. Hard work being put down by the Barrow boys. However, I think they felt like they'd been able to chip out Mustache to the inside there and recycle back, because they all went back, but Mustache went forward.
Yeah, Roselade there on the inside, this time on track as a blocker, really realizing where that jammer was going to be, standing in front of him, knocking him to the inside, and therefore cutting that jam short. 219 points right now for Tyne and Fear, 64 for Barrow Infernos, 13 minutes left on the clock, and we are waiting for the next jam.
Duke of York with the star for the first time in this game for Barrow. Dark Matter for Tyne and Fear. Dark Matter pushing forward against the 2-wall. Beer Mat, the last line of defense, and it is Tyne and Fear with the lead. Well,
it's fun to see how they're putting their hard hitters on now as jammers. They might actually just use the remainder of this game, those 12 minutes that are left on the clock, just to experiment a little bit, to see, you want to jam, go for it, have some fun.
Dark Matter already with 4 points on the board as Duke of York comes in, challenges the defenses of Tyne and Fear. Finds themselves chipped back and recycled. But up front, Tyne and Fear's jammer, Dark Matter, against the 3-wall from Barrow.
Duke of York still stuck behind that tripod of white. Gets some offense from Dynamo, who takes the star and is out. Very strong blocker, but also a very fast blocker. He's a lot faster than you would think he is, which really helps in the advantage of Barrow.
Oh, Dynamo approaching the pack from Tyne and Fear. Knocked out, though, by number 50, Bull. Going to be recycled right the way back. They're in between turns 2 and 3 on the straightaway. Dynamo being pulled back as far as possible. Goes at it once again. That Blammer in action works out well, and the crowd here incredibly happy to see Dynamo's progress. 8 points picked up for Barrow overall, 17 points for Tyne and Fear, and we're going to take a little look at that star pass.
That was just fun to watch. That was a really well executed star pass as well.
You can see straight away the cover being removed by Duke of York, and the Valor being passed on to Dynamo. 2-3-7 plays 72. 10.5 minutes left of this second game, game 4. Here at the first day of the Men's European Cup 2018.
Moo up against Jardine. Moo there in the front. Easily slides past Roseblade, who then continues to slide onto the floor. Gets out as lead, but there is Jardine very quickly out of the pack behind him. Barrow hopefully for them able to cut this jam short. 3 more points on the board for Tyne and Fear, 0 for Barrow.
So we're going to see the block on the apex. You see Moo comes in. Beautiful work by number 84, chasing through the pack. But it is actually Moo who ends up escorting Roseblade off the track, rather than the other way around.
Nomad lining up next to Sparky, and we just mentioned Sparky seems to be incredibly fresh after jam. Nomad has had a couple of jams to catch his breath and is now being put back on track. Of course, those wonderful relief jammers. That's what they're for. They're just there to help out their team. It is, however, Sparky who gets out first, but look at what that little bit of rest did to Nomad. Immediately out after Sparky, both very fast jammers.
So Nomad now chasing down Sparkies. Both jammers hit the pack. Little mini apex jump by Nomad standards. It'd still be a mighty jump by anybody else's.
Well, it was enough for a point.
Yeah, it grabs a point. And a point each. Tyne and Fear there picking up 1. Barrow picking up 1. 73 plays 2-4-1. Just under 9 minutes left of this second half. And Barrow using their final time out. So after this, all they've got to rely on to try and give longer periods of rest to their team is Tyne and Fear using their timeouts. Now, unless something catastrophic happens for the bench crew of Tyne and Fear, I don't think they're going to do that. They're going to want to tire Barrow out as much as possible. So opportunity here now for Barrow to just take that much needed time, grab as much rest as you can do, and perhaps look and discuss about widening that jammer rotation using blockers to try and rest their key jammers as much as possible. Certainly worked out well for them during the last couple of jams, being able to field the likes of Duke of York, Beermat and Dynamo, giving the rest to Roseblade. Although saying that, Roseblade not really resting, as we've seen him working in the pack.
He is someone with a lot of track awareness, and it works out both as a jammer, as a pivot, as a blocker, and we are just seeing him setting up to jam in this next jam up against Akami Kenzie once again. Still once again empty Susan Mouthguard penalty box. Really delighted to see that. It's been a fun game to watch. Roseblade there trying to take the inside, but it is Kami Kenzie who gets out first. But look at it. Look at what Roseblade does. It definitely works for him. Those couple of jams on as a blocker. The past couple of jams we've seen for Barrow have been 2 of their most successful jams in a while so far. 1 more point on the board for Tyne and Fear, but that jamming and that blocking by Barrow also managed to call a force a call off for Tyne and Fear.
Yeah, Barrow able to put Tyne and Fear under pressure once again, and as you say, forcing the call off, keeping that point scored as low as possible. So only 1 point for Tyne and Fear takes their overall total to 242. Barrow at 73. We've got 8 minutes left, and jam is on. Mustache versus Jardine, and beautiful work by Mustache.
don't even think he needs skates. He would be good just on his toe stops. Jardine, in the meantime, has taken off the star, but his pivot is behind him. Dynamo once again with the pivot star on his cover. Pivot star on his helmet. Jardine now getting knocked to the outside there. While Mustache almost manages to do that nice little bean dab there. Blocker pretty much sat on him on the outside there as he is recycled back.
So Beermat certainly instrumental in keeping Mustache at bay here. And you can see the solid 3-wall built by Barrow working out for them now. Being chased back through the back of the pack by number 586, Speedy Gonzalez.
Both jammers now being maintained in that first corner for quite a while already. We're halfway through the jam. Nice, as I'm saying that, nice little jump there. Both jammers get out. Should have said that before.
Well, Mustache just given the opportunity to back up a little bit and had a clear line of the apex. So we're going to see Mustache grabbing lead on that inside line. And as you said, doesn't really need the wheels when you can dance on toe stops like that. So 6 minutes 34 left. 73 points to Barrow. 247 to Tyne and Fear. And lining up for Tyne and Fear, that's Dark Matter number 1 coming up against Nomad. 027 for Barrow. Straight off the line there, Nomad 1-on-1 against Tyne and Fear's Dark Matter, but Dark Matter recovers, finds the space on the inside line, picks up lead. Nomad removes the star, goes for the inside line, finds the space, shrugs off Nicholas Rage. Not once, but twice against Dog. To finish his initial. Dark Matter coming in on an initial scoring pass, decides to call off the jam as Nomad comes up behind. So 3 points picked up by Tyne and Fear. Barrow with 0, but once again able to put the pressure on Tyne and Fear to stop those big bleeds.
I really liked how he made use of his blocker, Nicholas Rage, there on the inside. He basically used Nicholas Rage as a wrecking ball there on the inside. Just going, you push, you use your strength, and just brute force to get me through that pack. In the meantime, lining up here, we have Move for Tyne and Fear, Roseblade for Barrow Infernos. Roseblade taking the outside there, gets out as lead for Barrow. Wonderful to see, very excited in-house crowd here. As Moo is now also out of the engagement zone.
Oh, fantastic work by Barrow's jammer. The little duck and dive from Roseblade. Oh, calling off the jam. We're going to have a look at that dip. You see Tyne and Fear
a little bit too late there.
So here you see Roseblade with the duck and dip against 762 Jamunition.
Seemed a little bit disappointed at the points he gave away. Did not realize the jammer was that close already.
Yeah, so 3 points picked up by Tyne and Fear. 4 points picked up by Barrow. 4.5 minutes left of this second half. And it is Sparky up against Jardine. The jam is called.
I believe that was an official timeout, but Sparky just went off already.
Sometimes you just gotta jam.
That's what happens. Happened at the World Cup as well, so you know if it can happen at the World Cup, it can happen here. We saw Jardine signaling like, "Hey guys, what's going on? That's not a jam start." Sparky very excited. And of course, we really want to say thanks to our wonderful sponsor, Roller Derby City, rollerderbycity.com, providing you with wonderful team uniforms, apparel, and team merchandise. Check them out, rollerderbycity.com.
And just remind us who's coming up next.
Next game at 4, we have Glasgow Men's Roller Derby versus the Knights of Southern Discomfort, who are getting ready to get their game on next to us. And Jardine has been switched out with Nomad. Sparky, however, is still on track. Nomad gets knocked to the inside. Sparky taking the outside, picking up another lead for Tyne and Fear.
Well, Nomad now running up that outside line. Shrugs off Dog. Dodges around Chemical Al. Nicholas Rage, last line of defense. Joined by Chemical Al and Nomad taken to the outside. Nicholas Rage picks up a penalty. Sparky already with 5 points on the board. Nomad 1-on-1 against Chemical Al. Goes for the no pass, no penalty. Completing his initial as Sparky comes in on a second scoring run. 5 further points on the board. Checks in with the bench and calls off the jam. Tyne and Fear now at 2-6-2 with 9 points. Barrow on 77.
We have 3.5 minutes left in this game. Like we said earlier, up next, Glasgow versus the Knights of Southern Discomfort. New Wheeled Order. After that, versus the Spanish Mad Riders. Final game of the day will be the Gothenburg Salty Seamen versus the Helsinki Coast Squads. But right now, we still have 3 minutes to go in this wonderful game. Tyne and Fear up against Barrow Infernos with a very happy Kamikenzi picking up lead over Roseblade, who does manage to get out quite quickly after him.
Yep, so Roseblade completing that initial and chasing down Kamikenzi. Roseblade hits the pack first, comes out the other side. Kamikenzi caught in the mix here. For the first time in this game, we're seeing that defensive work from Barrow really pulled together. Kamikenzi does make it out. And let's just check in with those scores. 4 points picked up by Barrow, 3 points to Tyne and Fear. So Barrow in the positive point scoring. 81 plays 265. 2 minutes 13 left on the clock. And that does look like Nomad 027 once again stepping up against Mustache 831 for Tyne and Fear.
Third time Nomad has hit out the other drummer and recycled them so far this game. Doesn't go back as far as he did previously. He's still blocking the white jammer there. But now being hit out himself is recycled by Dog there.
Oh, beautiful footwork, but doesn't quite manage to stay in bounds for Tyne and Fear. Mustache recovering from that hit is Nomad, who was knocked out by number 6, recycled all the way back into turn number 2.
And we just got to see some nice clockwise rotor derby as both jammers were being recycled. But it is Mustache who almost makes it out, gets knocked out, but Initiator Speedy goes out as well. Both jammers, I was going to say, now out of the pack, but Dynamo in the meantime has taken the star from Nomad, has to re-enter back in. But let's see what this wonderful Blammer is going to do now.
Well, you see Mustache making it out of the pack, picking up further points there. But what we have seen consistently from Tyne and Fear is that defensive action and the sweeps so perfectly timed to the inside line. Supporting their jammers' progress through the pack each time. 30 seconds left of this jam. Just under 40 seconds left of the game. And once again, Mustache pirouetting through the pack. Can you try saying that just in everyday life?
Dynamo, however, also made it out.
Well, let's have a look at the replay here. Number 586, Speedy Gonzalez, as we see Tyne and Fear's jammer coming down the outside line, sees the light at the end of the tunnel, and Speedy Gonzalez quickly turns that off, shuts it down, and forces a recycle. Well, no timeouts called. Tyne and Fear were the ones in the driving seat with that, so didn't need to. And jam comes to an end. This game comes to an end.
The entire game comes to an end. Everything comes to an end. As we're waiting for the official score, once again, I would like to stress, next up we have Glasgow versus the Knights of Southern Discomfort.
So
and there we are again.
Yeah, you said as we wait for that official score, the officials just making sure everything's absolutely right. But brilliant work by Tyne and Fear, absolutely dominating from the start. Barrow were able to keep up for some time, but that did kind of start to slip away from them, and the holes in their jammer and blocking rotation really showed. We did say they were playing short today, and that really makes a difference against a team like Tyne and Fear, who are incredibly physical, so really put the runs on Barrow. But great work by both teams. Obviously, well done to Tyne and Fear for taking the win so convincingly over Barrow. We're going to be back with you in just a few short moments. You do have your final score now, where we will be talking to a player from the game.